A very warm welcome to all our Tea Time viewers. I'm Chaiti Narula and we're at JP Greens at Greater Noida on the 12th hole, par 3 of course. And over the next half an hour we will be in discussion with the Managing Director of SAP Labs India, who's flown down all the way from Bangalore to Delhi to join me over a game of golf.
On the show this week we have Anirban Dey, MD, SAP Labs India.
There's a concept called design thinking. That's the way how we're building software, and it requires people from various aspects of life in order to build the next generation software.
In news, Graham McDowell wins French Open by 4 shots. And Jonas Blixt wins rain-delayed Greenbrier Classic.
That's a good tee off, Anirban.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Tea Time. Thank you for coming all the way from Bangalore to Delhi to join us on Tea Time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So how long have you been playing golf in Bangalore?
Well, in Bangalore, not much. Even though I moved to Bangalore about 5 years back, but didn't have much opportunity to really practice on the game. So once or twice a year is at best.
Okay, so let's discuss your sector now, enterprise softwares. India is pegged to be the third fastest growing enterprise software market by 2016, and this is a report by Gartner that states that. How optimistic are you at SAP Labs India?
I think the way how the business of SAP is growing and evolving, we have really moved ourselves from just a business software company to actually expanding into 5 different market segments. So we are the leading #1 in the application space, basically applications that you run your business on. On top of that, we're still #1 in understanding business, which is what we call business intelligence. That's our second market. And the 3 markets where we are really focusing a lot is cloud, mobility, and big data, which is HANA.
Right.
And with our strategy, we are clearly seeing that it's really paying off from a market perspective as well as market share, mind share perspective, that these 5 markets, to rack up applications, analytics, cloud, mobility, and database, we're in a very, very strong position.
Okay, so now you mentioned these. You mentioned cloud, enterprise mobility, virtualization, there's big data analytics, what have you. These are the trends that we're latching onto in this country. Which out of these is yours in order of priority, important?
I wouldn't put them in a stack rank. So what we have to see is, where does SAP come from? I mean, we originally started 41 years back, 1972. Out of a small place called Waldorf, which is about 100 kilometers to the south of Frankfurt.
Right.
And from there, it has been an interesting 41-year-old journey, starting off with purely business applications.
True.
And we have ridden the wave to the point that right now, 98% of the global Fortune 500 companies are actually running SAP software.
Nice.
74% of the world's economy is touched by an SAP system. That's the scale where we were in. But we also knew that we cannot stick to just applications, because the market and the dynamics, everything is changing. So with this, not only we want to maintain our dominance in the applications and the business intelligence, we want to make sure that we are making right headways into the cloud, into the mobility, and of course our new market, which is the database.
Now, the same Gartner report that we discussed earlier also mentions that India's share in the software market in APAC is expect to reach at 12.1%, representing $5.4 billion in revenue. What is your overall broader game plan, keeping in mind these figures?
So I think if we look at the broader markets of SAP, I mean, if you just broadly chunk it up, there's North American market,
right,
or we call it the Americas, so both North and the South. Then we have the EMEA, the Middle East, and the Europe, and then the Asia Pacific. So if we look at our current growth that is happening, it is actually equal in the 3 regions. So in a way, if you look at the whole Asia Pacific region, it is as equal and as important a market for us. Not to mention, 2 of the largest growth economies are actually in the Asia Pacific, namely China and India. From a strategic perspective, there is an immense amount of attention personally from the board members and the executive team, where they really invest a lot of time, energy and investment specifically on India and China, in order to make these as successful locations, both from a local market perspective as well as from an R&D talent pool perspective. If India grows, we'll grow, no doubt about it. Because just to give you an Indian context, 48 of the 50 top companies in India, they're SAPians.
So now mobility is a trend that is catching on in this country with the splurge in connected devices as well, and currently there are about 930 million subscribers in India alone. What are your plans going forward with regards to mobility?
Well, let me give you a fact about SAP's mobility. It's not a very well-known fact, but I'll share it with you. We are #1 player globally when it comes to mobile infrastructure.
Right.
It is a less known figure by many people, but it is true. Now, our mobility strategy is essentially all based upon the fact that we want to really invest on managing mobile devices, namely a new trend that you must have heard, bring your own device, BYOD, into the workplace.
So from BYOB we go to BYOD.
Exactly. So I think from this BYOD trend, what is happening is...
If only the youth knew this.
Well, they'll figure it out someday.
Yeah, I know.
But if you look at this particular trend, what's really happening is the entire information that was once very secure behind the corporate environment and the corporate walls is suddenly now exposed. So it brings in a new generation of security, mobile security we're talking about. Now, if you have millions of devices, how do you push the software and the upgrade? That's that whole infrastructure management. And not only that, the whole emergence of mobile applications, which is where all the next generation that you talked about are consuming information from. What are these platforms on which these applications are built? We are invested heavily, as I told you, especially on the infrastructure side, and there's a lot of push that is happening for building next generation of applications which are completely mobile based. And one of the philosophy that we are following even in business applications is what is called mobile first.
Right.
So we first design the application and the screen for the mobile,
Right.
because we know you have to get to the crux and present in that small piece and then extend to the business desktop.
All right. On that note, it's time now for me to tee off and we'll continue our conversation.
Have a good shot.
Andy, by the year 2050, about 50 million more devices will be connected, mobile devices will be connected to the internet. Now, this has been sourced from Ericsson, that mobility report that quotes this figure. What are your plans around this?
So this concept that you're talking about, mobile devices being connected to the internet, we have a name for that. It's called the Internet of Things. If you look at how internet is today, it's all about information being posted out, and you and I, human beings, are consuming that.
Right.
Now, take that to the level when your refrigerator is now talking to you, sending an SMS, Chaitya, you are near the warehouse or near the retail store, I'm out of milk, get a jar.
Really?
So I think that's the future that we are talking about. Cars are getting connected, we call it smart cars, smart cities. So I think it's inevitable that we will have much more number of devices that even human beings...
coming up with cars like that as well. They're hugely connected cars.
And they will talk to each other.
Right.
So I think it's inevitable that it's going to happen. And I think one of the major research work that's going on smart cars, on Internet of Things, and there are lots of research, publication, and of course internal work that's actually happening at the top levels, where we really want to see how we can manage. Because the thing that's going to happen with it is an explosion of big data. Everybody is talking to everybody, everything is talking to every other thing. How do you manage such kind of a data? How do you understand such kind of a data? And that is where the future is. We have made some significant investments in one of our technologies called SAP HANA. And that is one of our solutions where we are really banking on really working with enormous sets of data and making out intelligence and information in the real time.
Now, by 2014, a Gartner report suggests that by 30% of the top 1,000 companies will be using cloud, which will be up 5% from the current usage of cloud, whether it's internal or external usage. I mean, these are Gartner figures again that I'm quoting. How much are you optimistic of cloud taking over?
Right. I think cloud is a clear future.
It is the buzzword, of course.
There is not just the buzzword. I think the whole economics around it, the whole business model around it.
Is it a bubble, or is it something that is
No,
really
I think it's a game-changing trend.
Okay.
If you think about it, in today's information systems, we have always lived in this four walls we call it on-premise. So all your software, hardware, everything sitting within your premises. Now this whole trend about going out and really putting out somewhere in the cloud, which is essentially a data center, professionally managed, and then consuming software as a service, pay as you use it, not like buy and then implement and use it. It's pay as you use it. I think this fundamentally changes the whole business model.
Right.
SAP has realized this trend and has started making some investments on that. So we have made some very significant acquisitions of companies which are success factors, namely one of the big ones that came in. Ariba is another one, which are all our cloud-based acquisitions. And with our internal investments and with all this power that's coming in, we are pretty confident that we will be able to play a very, very strong market in the cloud. Internally, within our company, we are all thinking cloud, enterprise cloud and public cloud.
So are your peers.
Yes, of course.
All right, so Andy, you're big on cloud computing and so are your peers. Your peers and you are also big on big data analytics, two very big waves we are latching onto in this country. We are going to discuss a little more in detail about SAP Labs India on the other side of this break. Andy and I will see you on the other side. Take a breather. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time, and on this episode we're discussing tech metamorphosis with Andy. We spoke about cloud computing, big data analytics, and now time for us to talk about your latest product which led you to become the MD of this company as well, HANA. Take us through HANA, the in-memory program that you have.
Okay. Let me explain to you in very simple ways. Take your computer or your laptop. It's got three main things. One is what is called the CPU, which does all the number crunching. Then there's something called the memory, which is where all the data is there and the CPU is calculating all the numbers. And then there's a hard disk. So whenever you buy a computer, you say, what's the speed?
This
That's
sounds
the
like
CPU.
my computer class in school.
Exactly. And I want to draw that analogy from there.
Right.
They ask you, what's your RAM, what's the speed, and what's the disk? That's all you ask for.
Right.
Now, in this whole architecture, what is really the bottleneck is the disk. Because when CPU wants to compute something, if it has the data on the main memory, it is a million times faster than if it had to fetch the data from the disk and put it in the memory and then compute it. So what we thought that as we are approaching towards this world of big data, we cannot live with such a throttle which is going to choke us, because not only the data will grow bigger, our processing requirements will be larger, and we can't live with this architecture.
Absolutely.
So what we did is we threw away the bottleneck, which is the whole disk. So imagine now you have a computer where there is no disk. You will only be asked, what is your processing, how many cores or CPUs do you need, and what is your RAM?
Correct.
So HANA is essentially a completely revamped architecture where the entire data resides on the memory. HANA is the future on which SAP is banking all its future products, be it the applications, be it the analytics. So
you were yourself heading the HANA project. No wonder you're talking so passionately about it. And then you went on to become the managing director of this company. How did that transformation come about in your corporate hierarchy?
Well, I think the whole experience of going through the HANA, have you ever visited Maui? There's a destination, actually a tourist destination called Road to HANA.
Okay.
So the way I describe is, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So I think during this whole journey of building HANA, and believe me, it was an incredibly compressed time with which we built HANA, the ups and downs, the experiences that you gather, I think that is where people really, and the executive board and everybody realizes that, okay, maybe this guy is ready for the next level of job, and that's why they kind of, posted me, okay, now you lead the whole environment. The way how I look at it is, I have been personally an innovator. Now I have been given the charter to help others innovate. So it's just a natural progression.
Now, staying with HANA, HANA also helps companies which are starting up to scale up their businesses as well. How does that work out? And how do you, in your personal capacity, also want to see startups scale up in this country?
So HANA is a platform. It's a platform where you can build your next generation application. And given the enormous processing power of HANA, we are really seeing that people are coming up with extreme cases of applications and computation that were physically not possible before. there are extreme cases where somebody is looking stargazing, putting all the billion stars, and you click your device and it just shows you what the star maps are. Now these are cases that we can't even think about.
Wow.
So it's our wish that we really want to promote HANA as a platform where others can really build and make whole new business out of it. We are not going to build all the software in the world, neither are we going to build all the applications of the world. So we have our own strategy that we build, but let others also join and take advantage of the HANA. Startup is a big focus area for us, because what we are seeing is they think differently, they act differently, as well as they build different stuff that we don't build. So there's a lot that we can learn from startups from a company culture perspective also.
Absolutely.
Plus at the same time they can benefit from our technology. So there's a global program that we launched called Startup Focus Program, which primarily caters towards startups, literally hand-holding them with free software, with services, as well as expertise, where we want them to be successful. And that's our focus for the startups. So it's a win-win. They
True.
get something, we get something.
So leveraging the power of HANA and talking about business intelligence is Andy. We will remain in conversation with him. Take a quick break on Tea Time. Andy and I will see you on the other side. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. We're still in conversation with Andy and we're discussing business intelligence, cloud computing, big data analytics. Now enough of talking about all of that.
Okay.
We've spoken about business a lot. You are also exuding a lot of corporate social responsibility through SAP Labs as well. In fact, for the Autism Society of India, you have developed iPad applications as well. Tell us more about that. It's a really brilliant initiative on your end.
So this touches about two of the topics which are very close to our heart. One is the whole CSR topic. The other one is about diversity. So let me just talk a little bit about CSR and then bring in the diversity aspect of it. So in CSR, we have a very clear mandate and a goal. Our goal is essentially to focus on two aspects: education and entrepreneurship. So we are working with a lot of NGOs, with a lot of organizations who are really helping us promote the whole education for the underprivileged, as well as how we can bring the entrepreneurs, specifically the social entrepreneurs who are trying to do for the society, how can we enable them with our technology, with our expertise. So those two are pillars for our entire CSR. Now where the autism comes in is actually around the fact of diversity and inclusivity. So what we realize as a company, that we cannot be a 62,000 people company who all wears a black cap, black tie and a red, or black jacket and a red tie. We really need to bring in people from various facets of life. So we need gender diversity, of course, that is important. We need age diversity, that is very, very important, because we know how the early talent and the experienced talent, we need both those talents to come together and really build the next generation products. And last but not the least, inclusion of differently abled people. Now we have focused on autism and autistic people to actually incorporate within our workforce. So not only are we really investing in helping to the society for building applications like Bowl, which is the name of, we actually hire. So we are in the full payroll of 6 people who actually works full time with us.
That's
and
wonderful.
it is not a charity. It is a pure business case where we found that these people are extremely, can focus on repetitive work on a very, very long periods of time.
Really?
So they are fully in our testing centers where they are testing very rigorously how our software is getting built.
So what
we
are
have a
these iPad
business
applications you've built for the Autism Society?
It's called Bowl. So it's basically for children's learning, where you see some pictures of food and things like this, and when the kid touches that, it actually speaks out. So we are giving a voice to those autistic kids who are interacting visually with this iPad application.
Lovely, lovely. Now also your big, and who hold the fort in your organization apart from men, is the women as well. You've also won a lot of awards from NASSCOM as well for women's leadership. Take us through some of them, and why is it that you're so proactive, which is a fabulous thing. Why is it that you're so proactively bringing on promising women to come and join your company?
If we look at globally within SAP, where about 18% of workforce is actually women. And it's our goal that we really want to push up that 18% in the management to 25%. This is a mandate from the board, top down. Again, this is not like a quota system or anything. This is about providing the equal ground. We are giving enough training and as well as opportunities for our women leadership to grow up.
What stemmed that thought?
I think it's fundamentally based on the fact that diversity and really respecting as well as leveraging everybody's strength is where we think we can innovate for the future. And this is something that we take it very, very, very seriously. And it's something that is really paying off, because the way how we are building our software and the way how different people are bringing in different thoughts, there's a concept called design thinking. That's the way how we're building software, and it requires people from various aspects of life in order to build the next generation software.
Now, a research shows that SAP is one of the best companies to work with in the year 2013 in the Silicon Valley. When are we going to see that about SAP India?
Well, we are already there. So in Silicon Valley, as per the latest report, we are number 16th best place to work. But SAP as a corporate really is pushing and really looking at every single lab location, which is an R&D location, to be the best place to work in their own country.
How do you make it the best place to work? How do you make it to be one of the
It
top
is about
few players?
everything. It's about everything. It's about
Great to work with.
how you acquire talent, how you nurture talent, how you develop leadership, what kind of research and development work that you do, what kind of environment in which they develop. It's not just one silver bullet that you do this, this and this and you win the best hire. It's not about paying the highest salary or something like that. It's about everything together.
Proactively working on making SAP India as well to get there.
We want to be number 1, and right now we are positioned as number 24th in India across all industries, 60-90.
And which segment is this?
Across all industries. And internally what we have done is we have launched a project called Project 23 because we have 23 steps to go. So we have a focus that we have to be the best company in India, period.
Wow. When did you take on to golf?
It's about 7 years. I mean, the reason for taking up golf was I was doing my MBA then from Berkeley.
Right.
And one of the things that my fellow colleagues told me that if you don't learn golf when you are in MBA school, that's like a shame. So you haven't done one credit.
So you started back then
So we started
in
back
California.
then in California, and then on and off playing with friends. I came back to India about 5.5 years back. Then it really took a nosedive.
So you were yourself a Silicon Valley boy.
Yeah, I kind of spent 10 years
Didn't you
there.
want to start your own company back then when you graduated? What prompted you to take up the corporate career?
Well, I started with the corporate career with a big Silicon Valley company, as big, well, in the same leagues of the SAPs of the world.
Right.
And at that point in time, I think I have seen the dot-com bust. That's probably where it all started off.
Yeah.
And then we went through that down cycle and came up on the other side. And by the time I finished my grad school, which is the MBA part, got married, had kids, priorities changed a little bit, then we decided let's go back to India. So yes, I haven't forgotten. Hopefully the startup bug will bite me, but not this time in Bay Area, but in Bangalore.
So what next for your career now?
As I told you, maybe the next bug will
be the startup
Yes.
one. Okay, interesting. Come, let's finish our game on that note.
Sure.
Which is the golfer that inspires your game the most, and are you using golf in business as well?
We haven't really incorporated golf into the business as yet, but definitely I see this one of the game where there's a lot that leadership can learn. Because for me personally, golf is what I describe a game of opposites. You try to kill the game will kill you. It's all about perfection, timing, patience, and really the technique, the muscle memory. So there's a lot of things that you can really learn from this particular game. So I'll take up on your suggestion and maybe next time take our leadership team on a golf expedition.
Absolutely. And which are the golfers that inspire you the most in your game?
Oh boy, I think the most famous you can obviously guess,
Tiger
Mr.
Woods?
Wood. But I think he also went through
I
his
think we're
own
going to give Tiger
turn.
Woods a break for a while. Tell me some other golfer apart from him that inspires you.
I won't be able to name you. I'm still in the halwa of him.
Alright Andy, thank you so much for coming down from Bangalore
Thank you.
and joining me on Tea Time. That's a wrap from Andy and me, Sheti Narula. I will see you next week again. Until then, enjoy the flight of a good drive.